Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We always, where we talk about some things which may or may not important rest, because whilst it's important that you get sleep, important that I get sleep and everyone really gets sleep, but the world of sport doesn't really sleep. So what tends to happen more often than not is that whilst we're catching up on some rest, you may miss out on a few important things. They might just fall off your radar, but worry not. In this video, we'll catch you up with quite a few interesting things that have been happening and stuff that we've been hearing. And believe you me when I say some of the things we've been hearing might be very, very shocking, because get this, there has been a lot of talk about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli making a comeback to the T20I team for the T20 World Cup in 2024. However, we are now hearing right here in Sports Today that they will potentially not be playing in that T20I series against Afghanistan. We know that they've already missed the South Africa series, but the Afghanistan series is pretty much the last chance that they would have to be playing T20I cricket for India. Don't forget, India are only playing 6 T20Is in the bill. 3 of them were done in South Africa. 3 more will be taking place against Afghanistan at home. After that, that's it. You're going into test match mode for a couple of months because it's a 5-match test series against England. You've got the IPL, and then straight up you've got the T20 World Cup. So I don't quite understand what the planning is like here. Are you going to be bringing these players back straight off the back of the IPL, saying they've been playing T20 cricket, so T20Is, T20Is, exactly the same thing? Are you not going to want to be trying them out in India colours at all because they're proven performers? Is this the Ravichandran Ashwin logic all over again? I mean, I don't really quite know what's going on here, but what we do know is that they're reportedly going to be missing out on that because, again, that dreaded workload management comes into play, because they want to ensure that they're fresh for the 2 tests after having played 2 tests against South Africa, that they're fresh for the 5 tests against England, which, again, I don't quite understand the logic here, but that's what we're hearing, and that is potentially what could be happening, which means that there is legitimately no clarity whatsoever around your T20 team. But that's a video or a discussion for another time. We'll do that later on. Right now, let's focus on getting you some more news. Another bit of interesting news is that MS Dhoni's number 7 jersey has now been officially retired by the BCCI. Now, the BCCI hasn't put this out there, but there are credible news reports suggesting that for younger players, the number 7 jersey is not going to be available for selection when it comes down to them picking their numbers. Now, you know that this is something that has been really unofficially in there for quite some time. Shubman Gill in junior cricket used to wear the number 7, but when he came into the Indian team, he didn't take the number 7. He took the number 77 and has continued playing with that number, despite the fact that Dhoni's been retired for a good 3 years now. The number 10 jersey too is another jersey that has been retired. Of course, that was Sachin Tendulkar's jersey, but that one, interestingly enough, was actually worn by a player. Shardul Thakur had worn the number 10 when he made his debut, but was trolled heavily on social media, forced the BCCI to act and say, look, number 10 is not going to be available. So since 2017, even the number 10 hasn't been available. So that's 2 jersey numbers that are not available to any players right now. You can't pick the number 10, and now you cannot pick the number 7. Thala for a reason, you might say. Interestingly enough, talking about things beyond the remit of retired legends, one of our current top players in Kuldeep Yadav put in a phenomenal performance in that 3rd T20I against South Africa to ensure that India walked away with a heavy win and also levelled the series. But Kuldeep Yadav, like many others, is still kind of feeling the pain of the ODI World Cup final loss. He was there at the press conference after the game, and when he was quizzed on how it is that he was dealing with things, he's saying, look, truth be told, it's not been easy to move on. For 1 week after the final, I found myself thinking, what is it that I could have done differently? I found myself thinking about it all the time, and it just goes to show you that even athletes, despite the fact that they're operating at that level, despite the fact that obviously when it comes to this sport, their skill set is at an elite level, otherwise they won't be playing there. They too are human and can be very affected by things like this. As fans right now, the best thing we can do is move past that loss, because it's happened, it's not coming back. Support the boys and hope that they can do better in the T20 World Cup that's upcoming. And Kuldeep, I think, is definitely going to be one of those key players for that format. Speaking of T20 World Cup preparation, England's T20 World Cup preparations aren't going so well, because the West Indies, courtesy of a Brandon King special, ended up winning even the 2nd T20I that they were playing right now. It's a 5-match series between West Indies and England. England currently 2-0 down in the 5-match series, which means the West Indies only need 1 more win to seal it. Now, the West Indies needing 1 more win, not that surprising. They've been a good T20I side, but it's surprising in the context that England or who up until very recently were the 2019 ODI World Cup champions, are the defending T20 World Cup champions, have now been losing a lot of games in the Caribbean. In fact, in this game, England were in a very good position. They won the toss, had West Indies at 50-odd-for-3 before Brandon King counter-attacked, ensured that the West Indies got a competitive total about of 177, and then, even though England started well, they fell to that old foe, spin bowling. So, England have plenty of, let's say, things to learn still. There's genuine concern at this point that the funk that they experienced in ODI cricket may very well be coming in T20 cricket as well. Switching our focus now from the world of cricket to the world of football, and Liverpool ended up losing their final UEFA Europa League group stage game, although it didn't really impact anything for them because they were already confirmed to be finishing top of the group anyway. In fact, one of the reasons they ended up losing this particular match was because Jurgen Klopp put out a very, very young side, because again, they'd already qualified, and perhaps more importantly, this particular weekend in the Premier League, they've got a very big clash against a certain Manchester United at home. So it makes sense to rest players for that, especially when you consider that Liverpool were already topping the group. The young players didn't play too badly, but of course, a whole different team, many different players coming in, it was always going to be a task too much for them to overcome a side that were very much settled. No such problems, however, for Brighton and Hove Albion, who ended up defeating Olympique Marseille in their final UEFA Europa League match to solidify themselves as the group toppers. Now, Brighton's rise, remember, they were only promoted to the Premier League about 5-6 years ago, but from there, since then, they've grown from side to side, becoming a competitive, credible mid-table side, before then qualifying for Europe under, of course, Roberto De Zerbi. Their form has been a bit hit or miss this season in the Premier League, but that's also down to the fact that they don't have a massive squad and are also competing on all fronts. So full credit to them really for how it is they perform. They've done well in the Europa League. Now, of course, the further they can go, the better it will be for them. More football news, but this time sticking to, let's say, a news report that we'd covered a couple of days back. The president of Turkish football club Ankara Gucci had made headlines the world over when he chose to storm onto the field after a draw of his side and punch the referee. Now, this president has been banned for life from football, and I'd say that it was the least surprising news that I've read this morning, because again, you cannot be getting away with public assaults like that with just a little bit of an apology. It just can't happen. You need to be punishing players or people who are involved, let's say, in such incidents. And I hope that this isn't the end of it. I hope that the referees do end up pressing charges, because again, this is something that could potentially lead to a jail term, and it just shouldn't be happening in a civil society. Yes, you can be unhappy with the referees doing a job a certain way. Yes, you can be critical of them, but assault is where you kind of draw the line. Abuse is kind of where you draw the line. Shouldn't be at that point whatsoever. It shouldn't be getting there. It's just not acceptable. One hopes that this is something of a watershed moment, not just for Turkish football, but football in general, wherein you're a little kinder to the referees. Look, they're going to make mistakes. They too are human. That's the point of VAR. And, you really shouldn't be doing stuff like this. It's just not acceptable, not just in football, but society in general. Last but not the least, and this is another bit of news we've covered, Nozomi Okuhara had a bit of a horror time in India when she came to play a couple of badminton tournaments, and she documented those horrors as such. There were a lot of problems she had, whether it be getting a cab from the airport or getting, let's say, travel to the destinations, hotel booking issues, you name it, they all were there. And the Badminton Association of India's General Secretary has now come out and actually apologized for the issues that Okuhara faced in between the tournament. He said that, look, we can't really comment on what happened in the airport because that's not really in our remit, but we can actually talk about what it is we can control and apologize for how it is that the tournaments were mismanaged as such, and that there was no player coordination like this. We need to be careful and ensure this doesn't happen again, to which I say, fair game. You have apologized. I think it's a good enough thing that has been done in this case. You need to actually do better in these regards, because it's not right that you expect athletes to be dealing with these sort of administrative red tape issues whilst also preparing to compete in a tournament. It's just not done whatsoever. And that's it from us from this edition of the Morning Wrap with Sports Today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to download the Sports Today app. And if you're already on the channel, well then go right ahead, check out some other videos we've done, and stay tuned. We have plenty more coming your way today. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.